Luffy and Zoro are cooked because the strongest giant Loki has just been freed with his Thunder God weapon of Ragnir in hand. The three most powerful Straw Hats and Loki are all stuck in the underworld while the God's Knights begin their destruction of Elbaph in the Sun Realm. But with Loki freed, their team up might be the only way for our boys to defeat Gunko, Saint Summers, and Saint Killingham. Meanwhile, Nami, after finding no treasure in the broke-ass giant castle, goes back to the party at the village alongside the injured giant guards and Rodo. Now, we know Nami went with Luffy and Zoro just because she heard about a castle and usually they have lots of treasures she can steal. But Nami's return to the Sun Realm might hint at a deeper reason. Remember, chapter 1140 introduced us to two more God's Knights who spawned at the Walrus School, where Shanks' evil twin brother Shamrock orders them to turn Elbaph into the ground for the Celestial Culling Gate. We theorized that God's Knight Saint Killingham, who spawned in his awakened mythical zone form, might just have the power of the Kirin. This deer from Japanese or Chinese folklore is a holy beast that has the ability to conjure lightning storms. And guess what Nami can do with the help of Zeus? Control lightning. It's possible Nami will get her limelight finally in the manga when the Straw Hats have to deal with the God's Knights, because without Zoro, Luffy, and now even Sanji, who gooned his way to the underworld, it will be a tough ask for the rest to deal with three God's Knights at once. So we will likely see Nami and Usopp, the once part of the coward trio, be tasked to handle Killingham. But while this is happening, we get more lore about the history of the Atom Tree, as Frankie isn't done chilling with another man's woman. But let's be honest, Ripley's getting no attention as Frankie continues to glaze the Atom Tree instead. He's not trying to explore that mountain, he's more interested in the wood. I mean, think about it. Frankie has always been connected to the tree as far back as the Water 7 saga, because his goal was to purchase and build a ship using the wood from the Atom Tree. That's how he created the Thousand Sunny, which will sail the Grand Line. But hearing about the tree and finally getting to see it are two completely different things, as Frankie realizes there's more to the tree than what meets the eye, as a branch of the tree was cut down. Now remember, these branches are massive, like the Lotaper Fate. So massive, in fact, entire villages are built on the branches of the Atom Tree. So how on earth was a branch cut off? Or better question, who would do it? But you've got nothing to worry about, as Ripley states that there was a village called Haugen that existed on that branch until one day lightning destroyed it. Who could have guessed that living on a giant tree would be hazardous when it comes to fire? And so the lightning strike on Haugen caused a massive flame inferno which continued to spread, since, you know, even the ground is made of ancient wood in Elbaph. So to save the tree, the giants decided to cut the entire branch out so that the fire wouldn't spread to the other parts of the tree. This concept is similar to our own body. Well, if a deadly infection affects any limbs of a human body that doesn't have an immediate cure, most of the time it is recommended to amputate the affected limb to save the rest of the body. And that's kind of what the giants had to decide to save their home. Furthermore, the next revelation by Ripley is a bombshell regarding the future fate of Elbaph, that its greatest weakness is lightning and fire. Ripley's declaration foreshadows the God's Knight's attack. We already have a hint that Saint Kill might have the lightning aspect, while Saint Summers could possess the fire type devil fruit. This would be the greatest combination to bring Elbaph to its knees, and maybe that's why Shamrock was so confident that them two alongside Gunko would be enough, especially considering the protectors of the realm, Shanks and Loki, are incapacitated or gone. Furthermore, remember the mural from chapter 1138? It shows a lightning strike hitting the tree at the center. The tree is most likely the Eve tree, as we've mentioned before, but while the Atom Tree's weakness is lightning, the Eve tree could gain its strength from the same property. Also, I saw a lot of discourse in the community about the tree being hollow, which is actually a normal phenomena that occurs in nature when trees are struck by powerful lightning strikes, where it starts to burn from the inside as it's more drier part of the tree. But for such a massive lightning strike to occur, it couldn't have been a natural event, because if lightning at the scale of the Atom Tree happened, then the giants, whom in comparison are tiny, would all keep getting hurt, making habitation on the tree very difficult. So an unnatural devil fruit power might be to blame. Which of course brings me to Loki's legendary crash out. We now know that Loki possibly has Thor's powers based on his weapon Ragnir, also known as Iron Thunder, meaning there is a chance the destruction of House and Village took place during Loki's rampage, where his Thunder God powers decimated the lands of Elbaph, resulting in the destruction of an entire village, and of course a whole branch of the Atom Tree. And after whatever happened to the branch, it's highly likely that this is the same branch that found its way into the black market and later on into Frankie's hands in Water 7. Remember, humans make their way to the country of the giants by entering Elbaph through the underworld, so it being cut off would lead it to fall down from the Sun Realm, hence how the humans get hold of the Atom Tree. Regardless, Nami finally gets back to the party where she finds a drunk Usopp messing around with the giants, where Usopp asks the age-old question to Ja Rule. And guess what this old head said? This man, who's currently the oldest person alive in the One Piece world at the nimble age of 408, says he likes older women.
Oh my god, bro.
I just thought of something, yeah? Imagine Ja Rule fell for Mother Carmel like 70 years ago and she was his hus, and he's actually the rat who is in cahoots with the Celestials and the government and told the Holy Knights that Shanks and his men are off doing God knows what outside of Elbaph, and this is the perfect time for the Holy Knights to show up and take over. Then drunk Usopp whacks the sword stuck in Ja Rule's head, calling him a massive fool, but the giants state that Ja Rule will bleed to death if this sword is moved or removed. But cut Usopp some slack here, alright? As Nami recollects, it was my guy's dream to come to Elbaph to learn the ways of becoming a brave warrior of the sea. So if he wants to whack some big-ass sword stuck on an old giant's head, then let the man do it. But someone who cannot take a break from gooning is Five-Anji. Five-Anji's love for Giant Tussie is unstoppable.
Come on now, dawg.
Meanwhile, Roto takes the injured giants to Gerd for treatment, but when she asks what happened, he keeps quiet about all the shenanigans he went through with Luffy's group in the castle, so no one freaks out. I mean, just imagine Roto telling the other giants of the person they follow and worship, Luffy, as the Sun God wants to release the biggest threat their country has ever seen. This would prove Loki right that the Sun God brings destruction. But all of this just results in some more domestic violence, with Roto getting the short straw again. Meanwhile, cutting back to Luffy and Zoro, who finally make it to Loki, but unfortunately they find him in a near-death state from what happened back in chapter 1137. Luffy tries to even open his chains, but since it's made of sea stone, he becomes useless once again. However, Zoro doesn't want to release Loki yet, since he decided to speak to him first to determine the type of person he is. And what does Zoro do? He copies Five-Anji's moves, smashing Loki's wounds with his leg.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
And why did Zoro do this? Well, to make sure Loki wasn't faking it. Luffy even comes to Loki's defense, but Zoro just states that if this kills him, that's just fate. This dude was weak as hell. This is just Zoro being Zoro. Nothing new here to see. Bruz had this same mentality when he first faced off against Mihawk at Baratier. So no mercy for a weak warrior. If Mihawk had killed him there, then that is where his dream and fate would end. And let's be honest, Zoro has the right to be skeptical about this entire situation. He had to 2v1 Gaban with his captain, who is a Yonko by the way, had to scream at Luffy to dodge an attack that could possibly be fatal, and that old man was also afraid of Loki. This entire time in Elbaph, everyone keeps yapping about how scary and nefarious Loki is, yet his captain wants to free this criminal. As the vice captain, it's Zoro's role to be skeptical in this way. But regardless, it is his captain's orders and the first mate has to oblige. And so Zoro finally gives in, deciding to keep one cuff intact at Loki's ankle so he would still be weak if he decided to go on another rampage. Meanwhile, Luffy wants to go to the village's doctor to treat Loki's wounds. However, getting a doctor from the village to treat Loki would alert the other giants to his liberation, which would eventually result in the Straw Hats being banished, but Luffy gives zero fucks. And according to him, meat is the cure for all things. You're depressed, eat some meat, bro. Missing a limb, eat some meat. Can't get a girlfriend and feeling lonely? Find some meat. I don't know. But since Gonko and Shamrock one-shot all the animals around Loki, Zoro just says to use them as meat. But no, Luffy doesn't eat his friends. Right, Chopper?
Huh?
This honestly shows the similarities between Loki and Luffy and why our captain is so trusting of the giant, as just like Luffy became friends with the giant animals of Ruskaina during the time skip, Loki also is beloved by these creatures, whereby being ostracized by the village for who he is, the only refuge he could find is with these beasts. Luffy, with his 500 emotional IQ, understands this after how loyal these animals are to Loki. Another question then arises, what happened to Shamrock's sword, which was left behind to kill Loki? The injuries are severe and all the animals have fallen in an attempt to protect Loki. But since Loki is still alive, the only possibility might be that Shamrock summoned back his sword before it could land a killing blow, or a sea stone chained Loki was strong enough to beat a mythical zone fruit. Which makes sense considering even the former Pirate King's left hand was scared to face him, especially since Zoro glazes him further by calling him the size of oars. This claim should not be taken lightly because oars and even oars juniors of the ancient island puller race are 3 times the size of even the biggest giants. Dory, Broggy, and Hjarden, who is the half-brother of Loki, are around 22 meters tall, while oars was 67 meters and oars junior was 60 meters. So if Zoro's claim is to be believed, this makes Loki nearly 3 times the size of a giant. To the giants, Loki himself is a giant, it seems. Perhaps that's why he felt different from all the others and was misunderstood. However, just as Luffy leaves for the village, he hears something coming from the sky as Hjarden and Sanji, along with the new giant pirates, come flying down to the underworld on their mist ship. Apparently, Hjarden heard about Luffy's plan from Rodo and rushed to stop him and Zoro from liberating his half-brother, but since they were in such a rush, they didn't come to the underworld by normal means and just flew there using the spar. Unfortunately for them, there are no island clouds in the lower levels of Elbaph, so the spar and the crew just end up falling face first. Who is that over there? What the hell is Faivanji doing with them? My guy found his giantessy and ended up traveling with them to the underworld. He was gooning to his death. Like, bruh still has hearts coming out of him while free falling.
For the love of God, please!
But here, Luffy just proves his Yonko status to us once again. Using his rubber balloon form, he saves the spar from crashing. And with the new giant pirates finally joining their fleet commander, Hjarden thanks Luffy for saving them, but begs him not to release his brother by stating that anything that Loki says is just a sinister scheme. Nothing good would come from helping him. Like, the guy will literally kill a friend without any remorse, as his own brother calls him an enemy of the world. Which isn't what we have seen so far, as Loki truly cares for his beast friends of the underworld. However, it's a little too late for that, as we finally get to see Loki unchained and standing in front of Luffy, who looks like an ant in comparison. Loki looks to be colossal even when compared to regular giants. Even Luffy is shocked since Loki's supposed to be knocked out from his injuries, but let's be honest, we all knew this was coming. It's possible that by removing some of the sea stone cuffs, Loki started to get some of his stamina back, and he used his devil fruit power to come back to life or heal his wounds. From all the stories we have heard about the fallen prince, there is no way these injuries were enough to put him down to begin with. And just like that, Loki is free and ready. And with a malevolent smile, he grabs his weapon Ragnir. Even Hjarden tells his brother to stay away from it, known as the Iron Thunder. So Loki literally is kind of like Thor in the One Piece world, possibly even hinting at his Thunder God power. So if Gaban faced off against Loki, it would literally look like this. Honestly, why the hell did the giants leave this dude's big ass weapon right next to where he was imprisoned? This is weird as hell. This is sus, bro. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, watch the other video on screen right now. I am cooking a dragon video. You guys are not ready for this next dragon cope, so stay tuned for that next month.